about our company. We are Magento partner and or a CRM partner in Ukraine, but we work globally. And today I'm going to talk about conversion rate experiments. And first, before I start, I want to warn you that unlike in this MTV crazy videos that you might see a sign, don't try this at home, this is actually a completely different case, and you should not believe everything that I say. You should not believe me. And you should always try to reproduce the results yourself. You should not trust any numbers. You should always try yourself. Don't trust anyone. This is a very rough world. Okay, so we were tasked with improving conversion rates for our customers, and we decided to run some experiments. And the first question that we had to ask ourselves, what would be the best place to put our experiments on. So how many of you actually know what is A/B testing and what are the conversion rate experiments? Okay, so for those who are shy to put their hands up or really don't know, this is the experiments is when you try to change something on your website and then you compare the results, how many people will buy from the original state of the website and how many people will buy with this change that you introduced. So this is how you detect the difference, and you try to see which option is better, and of course you leave it on your website to have better sales. So when we selected the point of highest impact, it was quite easy to see what would be the best point if you look at this picture. This represents the funnel of e-commerce, and we can see that a lot of customers, for example, get to the product view stage, and the least amount of customers are going to actual purchase and checkout. So if we would be able to, let's say, improve by 10% transition from product view to product customization or add to cart, versus trying to improve this same 10% from the people who actually go to checkout and complete it, of course, our client merchant will get much more sales if we do this with checkout. So if we improve by 10% amount of people who complete the checkout, customer will get much more money than he would get if, for example, 10% more people will add products to cart. However, adding products to cart is also important, but it's not like the most efficient place to look at. So, yeah, Mart, go ahead. So next we've done is we decided that we want to experiment with checkouts, and we actually decided to go radical and try to compare the whole checkout solutions one-to-one to see which checkout would be better. But the challenge with this is that there is really, really high number of checkouts available on the market. And it is probably around 100 different checkouts. It's hard to believe, but it's true. And among of them, maybe just around 10 extensions, at least 9 of them are all called with the same name, one-step checkout. So it's quite confusing for merchants which solution they should choose, and for us as well, which ones to test. But at the end, we decided to stop on those two solutions, which are awesome checkout and one-step checkout. Why those? Because those two are primarily were used by our clients, and clients love them. But behind this love, there was no some rationalizing. They didn't know what would be better. Like they might like the solution, but they don't know maybe there is another one which their customers would like more than the one they currently have. So this was one reason, and another reason is that awesome checkout and one-step checkout, they use completely different concept, and actual layout of checkout pages is different, and checkout transition is also different, which you'll see later on some example screenshots. So the tools we used for the A/B testing are Google Analytics, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with, and another one is Optimizely. Who have actually used Optimizely? Okay, and who used Google Analytics? Okay, so most of you probably know how to take care of the experiments in Google Analytics. And for the clients, for the battlefields where we run the experiment, we selected two websites, which were Car Part Kings, a website selling car parts, and another one is Everyday Minerals, which is a cosmetics brand. So maybe some of the ladies in the room actually even actually used this Everyday Minerals products. So this is how the awesome checkout looks like, an example of Car Part Kings. So this three different screens represent three different steps of checkout, which are shipping, payment, and confirmation. And as you can see, at the same moment of time, there is only one step on the screen. So you start from filling in shipping address. At the same time, you see the tabs to the right, but you actually don't see the content of them. So before you fill in the shipping information, you really don't have a big idea what would be the payment methods and so on. So another approach of one-step checkout is having everything at the same time on the same screen. So here you see all the checkout flow, but the downside may be that's too many information for the customer. It might be overwhelming to see everything at once, and when you fill in some information, the blocks, of course, the shipping methods will load, and the layout may jump a little bit, so maybe this would be not confident. So each of the checkouts, obviously, each of the approaches have its own pros and cons, so it was very interesting for us to see what actually would be the customer's preference, what would be easier to use, and what people would buy from. So we set up experiment on Car Part Kings, and we ran it for like 5 days, and Optimizely tells us, okay, we have a winner. So what we see is one-step checkout performed 2.5 times better than awesome checkout. So we were very shocked with this result. How can one checkout be 2.5 times better than the other one? And turns out that results were wrong because of a bug. So one-step checkout actually had a bug with some fields which prevented a big amount of customers from completing the checkout, and that spoiled the results of experiments. So that's how we learned one good lesson, that it's actually very easy to set up the experiment, but what is not easy and what is important is to make sure that you do the right thing and verify that the data you get at the end, that you can trust it. So what should we do? Of course, we decided to do it properly this time. So what can we do to get this properly? Of course, we need to set up one more experiment. We cannot get the data out of the old one. So we came to the client and tell, okay, we need to run one more experiment. But client actually had a very interesting position, and he was sure that awesome checkout is better, even maybe if not 2.5 times, but it's better, and he didn't want to run the experiment. So we tried to convince him, say, come on, you have to get the real data, but at the end he tell us, if you want to prove this, do it on your own dime. He offered us to have some kind of deal and pari. He says, okay, we set up the experiment, but if awesome checkout better, then you will compensate us for the sales we lose while the experiment is running with one-step checkout. And if one-step checkout is better, then they agreed to pay us the amount of money that they would actually make extra comparing to if they were keeping using the one-step checkout. So this was actually very, very intriguing proposition, and we had to think it over, and next morning I was actually ready to take on this offer, but the client said, okay, don't mind, let's run it. So we set up the experiment, and this time we ran it a little bit longer, for 6 weeks, and as a result, we get more legitimate data, and this data showed us that one-step checkout is 7.5% converting better than awesome checkout. But as you can see, there is a little fine print that statistical significance of the experiment was 80%. So this moment, who of you know what is statistical significance? Okay, so less people then set up optimized experiments. You should be you should be knowing this, because the experiments will not make use for you. So statistical significance, basically speaking, if we make the official definition a bit shorter, is the probability that your result is not a false positive. So for example, we had statistical significance 80%, which means that the probability that it's really 7.5% better is 80%. So actually there is a quite big chance, 20%, that experiment results are wrong. But what can we do about this? The statistical significance depends very much on the amount of customers that goes through experiment and the actual conversion rate. So if we have a website which is not quite popular, let's say it doesn't have thousands of orders a day, it's quite hard to reach this critical mass which is necessary to have the actual confident result. So we always have to balance and see whether we should trust the experiment now or keep it running longer and the risk of losing money. And this decision is individual for every experiment. So 95% is industry standard. So in most cases, you can consider experiment as well if you reach statistical significance of 95%. And if you decide to set up experiment yourself, here is a link on the screen that you can use to calculate the statistical significance. Optimizely provides a nice tool for you where you input the number of conversion you have at the moment and what is the relative improvement that you're looking to detect, and then it will give you the amount of customers you need to direct to each variation. So then we decided to repeat the same experiment on everyday minerals because every customer base is different, and of course what has worked for one client might not work as good for another one. So we did almost the same 6 weeks experiment, and with statistical significance of 85%, one-step checkout showed 2.8% improvement over awesome checkout. But again, please don't take these numbers as some kind of proof that one-step checkout is better. First, because it's not enough statistical significance, and second, because it might be different on your website, as I told from the beginning. So this is just to give you an idea that checkout might cause such a big difference and encourage you to run the experiment for yourself or for your clients. So what else can you do with this data is segmented with Google Analytics help. So you can see the numbers by some narrow audiences, like see the conversion rate for checkout, for one checkout for mobile and another checkout for mobile. So compare only mobile users or compare users from some specific geography or language or screen, OS, whatever. You can do really detailed segments. And for this, you'll have to do some setup inside Google Analytics to see, to detect which checkout the customer used. And this is easy, but you need to take into account some technical information, like the nature of experiments with Optimizely is that there is one default checkout, which was, in our case, awesome checkout, and then 50% of customers were sent to one-step checkout. So what this means is that customers that used one-step checkout and completed an order, if you view them in Google Analytics, you will see that they visited one-step checkout and awesome checkout at the same time. So you cannot just select customers who visited this URL of one-step checkout because it also includes awesome checkout. So for this, there is a little cheat sheet for you that you can later check on the presentation on how exactly you can set up the filter. So I will not go into detail, but you can check later if you're interested. So for example, this is how the graph looked for mobile traffic. And what we find out, an interesting observation as a result, is that responsive checkout doesn't help if the website is not responsive. So one of our clients used awesome checkout, which is responsive, and on mobile screens, actually it did not convert better than one-step checkout, which was not responsive. So probably when customer and mobile devices get to checkout, they are probably motivated enough to complete it, even if it's not responsive, and it will not stop them. Probably that's the explanation I have. So again, each case is different, and you have to test your store and make sure to dedicate enough time and run a statistically valid experiment so you can make a valid conclusion. Next experiment we've set up is with Secure Seal. How many of you know what is Secure Seal? okay, not too many, maybe it's named different in Polish language, but it's trust mark. It's maybe you've seen McAfee or Komodo, some kind of trust signs on checkout, like this website is secure, you can trust us, place this order. So this is called the trust seal. Before we ran the experiment, we had to do some online research, and we found that some US company made a research or interview in the United States. They questioned about 2,500 adults in US in 2013, and they asked them which of the trust seal you would trust, and they give them a list. So half of the respondents, they actually answered no, or what you're talking about. So for half of the customers, it doesn't matter. But the other half is distributed in this sequence. So most of the people trust Norton Secure Seal, then McAfee, Trusty, Better Business Bureau, and a little bit other ones. So in theory, it means that actually there is a difference which checkout seal you use. It's not that every seal is equal, as it turns out, but at the other side, it's also just a generic research, and for your customer base, the results might be different. So on car parking's environment, the experiment was set up by another company, which is Conversion IQ. What they did is placed the trust marks in header and in footer for 2 variations, and leave the baseline as it was. Then the difference between first and second variation was just that they had a PayPal banner on the shopping cart page. So this is how the checkout looked. And as a result, variation with Secure Seal from Norton won by 15%, which is personally for me, again, a bit hard to believe, because the difference is much bigger than it was for checkouts when we ran the experiment. So you may think, does it really give that kind of trust, the whole 15%, and it's more efficient to just place the trust seal instead of doing the whole set of experiments with checkout? But this research shows that yes, probably. So again, it's worth testing. You may want to try this on your store and see how this would work for your customer base. Next experiments we set up were with checkout fields, and what we did is we removed, for one variation, we removed fax and company fields on checkout. Another variation was just fax field removed, but company field was there, and original had all the fields in it. So as a result, this slide was from some time ago, a couple of weeks, so statistical significance was 84%, but it showed that just hiding the fax field helped 4.3%, while hiding both fax and company fields helped 0.9%. I just checked the results this morning to have the fresh data, and now the statistical significance is over 92%, and it still shows that hiding fax fields helps by 3.9%, and company and fax still stay the same. So we tend to see that probably it's worth hiding the fax field, because maybe some of the customers are not completing checkout. If they see a field, they don't know what to put in. So maybe they have an idea that this is important, and for example, if you don't have fax, you cannot complete the order, which may sound a bit strange to us, but who knows, the customers are different. Maybe one customer in 40 will really think this way. And we have a couple of other experiments in the queue. Some of them were running, like at the cart button, but again, we don't have enough results to show any statistically valid result, but we can see that so far there is a difference between even add to cart button color. If the color is standing out from the website color scheme, like if the website is pale colors and the add to cart is red button, it's getting clicked a little bit more than a button which is the same color as the general color schema of the website. So maybe some customers are struggling to find the add to cart button if it's the same as the color of the website. So this is worth trying for you as well. We're also trying to experiment with text that you see when you enter checkout, like welcome to checkout, please fill in this form, or like fill in this form to receive our goodies ASAP. So some kind of these crazy messages, maybe this will make an impact as well. Also, we experimenting with some motivational text on the shopping cart page, like add 2 more products and you get free shipping, or buy for $10 more and you get free shipping, to see how this affects the average order value. And of course, we're trying to test the secure seal on everyday minerals to have a comparison between what we see on car parkings and what we see on everyday minerals. So this is the experiments you might want to try yourself as well. And here is a link for even more ideas. This link points to optimize the website. So feel free to go ahead and open up. There are really, really, really good ideas out there, what you can try, and let's take a picture. And this link is constantly updated, so feel free to check back once in a while, and you'll see more and more ideas for your experiments. And some takeaways from our journey with experiments, and hopefully for you listening to this presentation. First, I have to repeat again that different stores are different cases, and the same experiments would mean different results on different stores. So try yourself. Don't ever trust if you see somewhere online that having, I don't know, red add to cart button is better than the green one. Don't trust this, because there are too many variables, the website design, anything. Then be careful with conclusions. Always try to verify the data you get from Optimizely or whatever you use to Google Analytics, for example, to see if at least the numbers are very, very close. If not, it means there is an error somewhere. Try to find it and fix it. And last but not least, the conversion rate is not only about user interface, but also about many, many other factors, like, for example, site speed. No one will buy from the slow website. Maybe shipping, maybe credibility of your company, some other marks. So take this complex approach when you try to optimize your conversion rate. Don't only think about changing the colors, moving around the buttons, and things like this. Try to think about improving the customer experience as a whole. So I encourage you to set up your tests and really take care of the results and implement them. Implement the conclusions based on them. Do we have time for questions, Marta? Yeah. Marta permits us some questions, so if you have some, I can answer. Okay, it looks like no questions, so thank you.